Let's move on. We'll be talking shortly to James Callian, who's from Leonora in Western Australia, an Indigenous leader out there who is not happy with the voice, who is not happy with the West Australian Aboriginal cultural heritage laws, which come into play next week, and is not happy with native title. So you don't want to miss that later in the show. Incredibly important. The Voice is now up and running. I'll be talking about it in my editorial, but Rita, so it's signed off now. We've had all sorts of crazy stories during the week. Is it going to be Peter Dutton calling it for it to be cancelled? We've just had Albanese and on the show prior to us saying, oh, no, how important The Voice is. Rita, your thoughts?
Well, yes, Anthony Albanese has been very busy advocating for The Voice, and saw him this morning on Sky News. And on Friday, he was calling on Australians to rise to the occasion and to be, I don't know, like the NRL and the AFL, you know, to emulate the elites and rise to the occasion and do the right thing. Have a listen.
This debate is too important for that politicisation. And people, I think, have to rise to the occasion. My government intends to rise to the occasion. I think that business has risen to the occasion. Faith groups have risen to the occasion. The NRL, AFL, Cricket Australia, Tennis Australia and other sporting organisations have risen to the occasion. And can I pay tribute to people like Julie and Lisa, who has risen to the occasion?
Oh. There you go. Come on. There you go. Gentlemen, are you two rising to the occasion?
Rising to the occasion suggest all you little people down there, you know, please elevate yourselves out of the mire. It's so patronising.
Well,
Come on, Australia.
This gets to the heart of it. I mean, you know, no matter what they do, they cannot stop with the moral cudgel on this one. They can't stop trying to beat people over the head and say, you know, you're just not a good person, you're not decent, or maybe you're just ignorant and misinformed if you don't support this thing.
All that stuff.
But it turns out who's misinformed is actually the government, because this week there was a huge controversy in Parliament over the question of what The Voice can and cannot make representations on. And the issue that it coalesced around was Australia Day. And it turned out it looked like, you know, between Albanese, Linda Burney and others, nobody actually knew what it could and could not do. So the interesting thing about this, guys, is back in April, I raised this issue with the Prime Minister's office and with Linda Burney's office. I was told I was being misleading and divisive, and yet everyone now agrees, all of the constitutional experts say, yes, they can absolutely make representations on this and anything else that happens in this country because the law, every law in this country affects Indigenous Australians as it does everybody else. And so this is the nonsense that they're trying to perpetrate, that, oh, it's limited, it's a very limited, narrow scope, and it can only make, you know, representations. On the other hand, you know, we have people like Thomas Mayo going out there and saying all sorts of stuff about punishing politicians and everything else. You have Albanese saying, you know, it's a brave parliament that would ignore The Voice. So they either want this to have a lot of consequence, and that's what they're telling, you know, their groups and their supporters and Indigenous activist groups, and yet telling everybody else, oh, no, it's no big deal. Don't fall for it.
Well, the reality is, as I wrote in the Financial Review in my column there, The Voice is sinking faster than a Titanic submarine. I mean, it's going down, and the reason it's going down...
Too soon,
And the reason is it's going down is because from the word go, there has been a massive deception around this voice, and this has been the idea that all Indigenous Australians speak with one voice, which is an idiotic idea and an undemocratic idea and a patronising idea beyond belief. And of course, you have different views within the Indigenous community, as you do within any community. That's why we have a democracy. That's why we have a parliament, to air those views. That's why we have 11 Indigenous, very, very good Indigenous MPs. Good and not so good across the board. I was being generous.
No, but they've got a diverse...
Across the board,
diverse
I think one of the best
opinion.
ones is Lydia Thorpe, because she is honest and tells us what she thinks and what her agenda is. And I prefer politicians who tell you what their agenda is rather than those who deceive and try and trick you through moral posturing. And as James was just saying, it is clear that the Labor Party have no idea what they have unleashed with this voice, and that's why Australians will vote against it in October.
Well, when it comes to Lydia Thorpe, one Yes advocate described her position as wanting dessert before her main meal. So she wants to skip the voice and go straight to the treaty, to sovereignty, to reparations, all the things that are going to follow the voice, because if you actually look at the Uluru Statement, it's all there. You're going to have truth-telling, you're going to have treaty. It doesn't stop with this.
Rent. You're going to be paying the rent. There's clear by every utterance from the activists within the Yes campaign and those also within, like Lydia Thorpe, who don't think the voice goes far enough. It is absolutely crystal clear. There is no question that the end game will be non-Indigenous Australians paying some form of tax or rent.
Well, we already
are. We're already paying billions already, but it ain't enough. It ain't enough, so we'll be paying a lot more, and it will be formalised.
Well, yes.
The thing, though, Rowan and Rita, about this is that, beyond this, there's a broader agenda of, I think, attempting to delegitimize modern post-settlement Australia and have everybody who is here who is non-Indigenous feel like they are here under sufferance.
Absolutely.